pod bay doors, please, Hal.
We accept a one of us. We accept a one of us.
Gooba gobble, gooba gobble.
We accept her. We accept her. Google gobble. Google gobble. One of us. One of us. Google gobble.
They're going to make you one of them, my peacock. Gooba gobble.
The pod bay doors are open. Welcome once again. I'm your host, Jerry Dean Roberts of ArmchairCinema.com and ArmchairOscars.com. Sitting here with my freakishly amazing co-host, the critic, dare I say legend, TalkMovieMe.com, Mr. Doug Eller. How the heck are you today, sir?
They're going to make you one of them, my peacock.
Welcome to Shocktober.
Hey.
Yay, we love Shocktober.
Yay.
We like the horror.
Wow. We like the good horror.
I know. Just wait.
Yep.
Because this movie's gonna end. This month is gonna end not with a great horror movie. Anyway, we're gonna start with a great horror film. Was it a horror film? More like a drama, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I guess technically it is. But
it's a horror film depending on who you ask.
Right. I kind of think that it's like an interpersonal drama, but I don't know. That's just me. But I guess in 1932, if you looked like that, you weren't really deemed a person, so you couldn't really have interpersonal relationships. So it was just a gruesome freak show to people.
So was it they called it on the Midway, they called it nature's cruelest mistakes. I was like, well, most of these people are just living their lives. I mean, they're not, they're just...
They're miracles that they were even alive. Some of them born, like the guy born without limbs. And
well, bear in mind, most of these people were born at a time when people died at the age of, 40?
Well,
I mean...
If you made it past the rickets, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Starvation.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, childbirth. Let me tell you, childbirth in the 19th century was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's actually still the death rate for like actual live birth that aren't C-sections is astronomically high. Higher than you would imagine in modern society, and even higher than you would imagine further disproportionately to women of color, due mostly to poor medical care, but that's a different show.
Well, you go to... I was talking to my sister-in-law about this. You go to any local cemetery that's older, and you'll find... somewhere before about 1960, you'll find this mass of baby graves of infants who didn't make it, and it was just because it was
polio, it was Spanish flu, it was any number of things, just general living conditions.
Even among middle class people. Even among just people not necessarily people living in poverty, but you could be just like us, just normal middle class workaday people,
Mm-hmm.
and just they catch something, catch the flu or catch
Right.
some kind of chicken pox or something, and they just die.
I always find the disparity there to be quite humorous, because if you read the Bible, you've got like Methuselah living like 1,000 years. You've got other people like, it's like, what is a year for you?
I have a
Like,
feeling Methuselah lived to be about 95.
I have a feeling Methuselah lived to be about 42.
Yeah.
At that point in history, that would
Yeah.
have been ancient, because most people at that point were dying at about 29 or 30.
Well, people talk about the miracle of the Christmas miracle that Mary had a baby in a manger, in the stall, the animal stall. And I'm thinking, well, it was probably wondrous, but not for Mary, because
I bet the smell.
yeah, the germs, the squalor, the bugs, everything. God, how did he get past 2 days?
I mean, hey, the fact that he actually made it to 33 and he wasn't considered old, again, I
Right.
don't know how long their years actually were. I don't think
Right.
they were 12 months. I think that they might have registered years a little shorter.
And in his day, if you had a child that turned out like Joseph Merrick, the Elephant Man, they killed him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just
Well,
you killed
well,
the child because there was a belief that, well, child of the devil. You know.
well, they would have also questioned a 33-year-old rabbi that wasn't married,
Well, you know what I'm
or a
saying.
33-year-old carpenter that wasn't married. But anyway,
I'm talking about in his time.
in his time, a 33-year-old carpenter was unmarried would have been abnormal. He would have been married at 16, maybe
Right.
20.
But any of the people in this movie, born at a certain time, would just
they were lucky to have lived
right.
at all.
Are
Regrettably,
have they? I know circuses are basically done. Are we?
thankfully.
How long have we been done with the sideshow attractions like that?
Honestly, probably the last one closed up somewhere in the mid-90s, I would wager.
I mean, you still got weird acts like the human blockhead and things like that, but
Right, but they've been remolded into novelty acts and not
like the human blockhead.
Yeah, like not mistakes of nature. They're oh, isn't it amazing that these people can do this?
Yeah. Like
So
the sword swallower.
right, it's a total reframing of what it was with this, but the same stuff. 100 years ago, Mr. Blockhead would have been in a freak show.
Yeah.
In a carnival sideshow or in a circus.
And all it is
sideshow.
is a guy. All it is a guy guy with tattoos on his head.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how it worked, because you would have it was all it was all on the outside. It was all facade, because you had the announcer. It's not called a barker, by the way. They don't like that term. They're called talkers. The guy out saying, hurry, hurry, hurry. The guy out there with this, with the crazy suit and the boater hat and the cane. And he would have with him a little person. And the little person would be juggling or be doing a tumbling act or something like that. And that's how you got people in, and you would get, meet the woman who's half woman, half rabbit, or something like that, or, the nature's cruelest mistakes. That's how you get people in, and you pay your 25 cents and you go in, and all you see is a woman really with rabbit ears and
rabbit ears, a few little people.
Yeah. And she hasn't shaved her legs in a couple of months.
Right. Some people with birth abnormalities, and just
They did that a couple of years ago here. Actually, about a couple of decades ago here at Birmingham, they had a real live unicorn. Coming with the Barnum. I think it was Barnum Bailey Circus. A real live unicorn. Now, it was not a unicorn. It was a ram whose horns had formed together.
So it wasn't even a horse. That's great. That's You're not even in the right genus. I mean, come on.
But they advertised the shit out of it. I mean, my God, it was like, but you never got a good look at it,
I bet not. I bet that the unicorn in The Little Unicorn was a more convincing unicorn, and that was just a horse with a spike taped to its head and glitter put on it.
Right.
A full-sized horse, and it was supposed to be like a pony. But
you look at the pretty lady next to it more than you are at the horse, so you don't notice that it's...
Have you ever seen The Last Unicorn? There's no pretty ladies in there. Not that I remember.
Well, this movie comes out in the heyday of the carnivals. I mean, really, they were big. These traveling shows were really big during the Depression.
They were, and the miracle of this movie is that it doesn't wallow in the acts. It just shows them as people. If anything, it's revolutionary for how sympathetic it is.
You're in this community. You're with these people. They're just doing a job. But they don't really have any. This is 1932. They're not really able to be in the real world because the real world it sucks, and it's not allowing them to function. You cannot have a man who is 2 feet tall working an office job because he gets scorned. He gets, the facilities are not for him, or not designed around him or to accommodate him.
Right, and the maker forbid that they make concessions for somebody. The worker is actually important to them.
Right.
What I love about this, the sideshow workers that are in this are never exploited.
No. But you do have to question how, because the conjoined twins, you do have to you do have to ask. Okay, one of them is getting married. You do have to ask how that's going to work.
Well, they were joined at the hips, so they had separate. They would have had separate genitalia.
But you're gonna have to consummate.
Yeah. I mean, your sister's gonna be right there.
Yeah, I mean, just read a book.
I thought, unless she can feel it too, who knows?
Yes.
But I know that I thought it was hilarious when the two guys that had fallen in love with either of the conjoined twins.
Yeah.
They're both like, oh, you should come and see us sometime. And the other one was like, yeah, you should come and see us sometime. I'm like, well, somebody's going to have to come and see somebody sometime, or y'all going to have to live with each other, because the surgery to get them taken apart is not real safe right in 1932, if they'll even do it.
Daisy and Violet are their names. Well, the thing is, they're the community that they're in, they're not... now there are there are a couple of young women who, excuse the term, they're called the pinheads, and they are, you can tell there's some kind of developmental problem or developmental issues.
Right. They I think had probably difficulties in utero and changes, and so they were born like that, and through no fault of their own. They,
right.
That's
Most of these people, though, are just people making a living.
yeah.
They just happen to be a little bit. They happen to be a little bit odd, different, have an affliction or something that is, quote unquote, not normal. But they're fascinating people.
Oh yeah,
And
they are just people.
And Tod Browning didn't set out to make their story a horror story.
Right, right.
It's just a drama about that. If you removed that element from the story, you could just tell this story straight.
Oh yeah, and I mean the horror aspect of it really doesn't come into it until the very very end when
right.
the
and there's a purpose for it even then.
Oh yeah, when the sideshow folks gang up on Cleopatra.
Yeah.
That is decidedly one of the most terrifying visuals in cinema history. Not because they look different, but because it is a concerted effort of people just amassing onto one person, just
with knives.
Yes, and just the sinister feeling from that is just like it could have been anybody going, coming down on her, and it would have been as scary. But because it's these people, they're doing this because they're standing up for themselves.
Right. They're protecting their friend.
Right. They're protecting their friend. They're standing up for themselves. They're asserting their humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Although
the movie starts, it has a framework of an image that you are teased with at the beginning but do not get to see until the end. That's the only real freak show part of this.
Right.
You have to pay your 10 cents and you have to sit through the whole movie to see what the outcome is.
At 64 minutes is not a trial.
Yeah, this is not a movie that takes up a lot of your time. The weird thing is it opens with this circus stalker who's just bringing these people in, and he's surrounding this box with a light coming out of it that I think it's a pit, to show them this horror show that's whatever's in this box. There's a woman behind him who screams when she sees what's in the box, but she keeps looking back. She keeps hiding her eyes, but she keeps looking back.
She's one of the greatest background commentaries of humanity that the cinema's ever known.
I don't want to see it, but let me see it.
Right. Like what she did summed up exactly what Tod Browning was going for. Right, with his whole thing, like it was probably an accident.
Yeah,
it was probably they were told to react like they would at a sideshow, and there's always talent whether they get a big moment or not.
Well, and then he goes in to tell the story of how this woman was the peacock of the air or whatever. She was a trapeze artist.
Right.
Beautiful woman. On the outside. Because on the inside it was just rotten to the core.
Yeah.
She meets this, what's his name? Hans, played by Harry Earls.
Well, she starts by taking up with Hercules, the strong man.
Yeah.
And they kind of set their sights on Hans because it appears as though he has some disposable income.
And then she finds out it's a lot more than that.
Yeah, right. She finds out that he had inherited a fortune. And he was going to marry Frida, who was also a little person.
Right.
Played by Daisy Earls.
No. Yeah.
Played by Daisy Earls, his actual real wife, his real life wife.
She's a good actress, by the way.
Yeah, she is. Cleopatra then sets her sights on Hans, and Hans, for the first time in his life, is getting positive, as far as he can tell, attention from someone who is
Beautiful.
not his size, who's stunningly beautiful, and actively treating him like she likes him for him.
Yeah.
And he's never experienced this, and it lures him away from Frida, and all Frida can do is watch and fret as Cleopatra...
Well, she tried to talk to him about it.
Yeah, and he just kind of pushes her aside. First he says that there's nothing happening, and then he's like, yeah, I'm going to marry her. Whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's poisoning his relationship with Frida at the same time that she's poisoning him.
Yeah. She wants to kill him and take the money.
Right.
'Cause she does marry him.
Yes. Yes. And she's giving him small doses of poison. That's discovered very quickly, yet somehow continues to be a problem.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that works out, but...
But the strange thing is, you've got these other stories going on the side, like the bearded lady has a child. I can't forget who she marries, but no, she married. Is it the human skeleton?
Yeah.
She marries the human skeleton. And it's like it's not important to the story, but it's just an interesting sideline.
It's just lovely, and the half man, half woman, Josephine Joseph, has a little moment too when somebody's hitting on the woman half, and the guy was like, I think she likes you, but he doesn't.
I learned through the history of these things that a lot of people who did that act, and it was a common act to go to these sideshows, and you'd see someone named George and Georgina, and it was one person, and right down the middle they were, one half was woman, the other half was man. I learned that this, at the time, is how a lot of bisexuals lived, because you could be openly be both man or intersex. You could be both man and woman. You dress like a man and a woman, and it was back and forth, and it was the way to be out comfortably, but you had to be in this environment.
Right. Probably a lot of trans people too.
Right, a lot of trans people too. This was a really, really common act.
Oh yes.
And they would go so far as to go and lay out in the sun with half of their face covered, so that the male half, the male half would get a tan, and the other would be, would not.
Yeah. They would do like stunt weddings, where there would be a woman on the male half and a woman and a man on the woman half. Arm in arm and arm in arm, and they would all get married to the separate halves. Just to try to emphasize, and it's really gross that this was what was entertaining for us back.
But for a lot of these people, this is how they live their lives.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
I don't damn them for living that way. I damn society for forcing them to.
Forcing them to have to live that way.
Yeah.
And some of these people in the movies there's nothing physically, there's no physical abnormality. They just look weird. Like the stork lady.
Yeah.
Just looks weird.
Yeah.
She's just
human skeleton. He's just skinny.
He's just skinny.
Yeah. The bearded lady.
Some of them,
just
the
hormone
lady,
imbalance.
Yeah. And then sometimes you do. You get like the half man.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
most of the people who were, the half woman, half man, uh, you know, I mean, none of them were biologically that.
right,
Like nobody was Glenn or Glenda. Nobody had
right.
half of a penis and one testicle and half a vagina.
Hmm.
Biologically that is impossible. That is,
And you would have at this time, you would have a half man, and his issue was that it was no different than the fact that he had gone over to France during World War One and got his legs blown off.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's his affliction,
Yep.
and he just posed as a half man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing.
Yeah. So many of them were injured vets.
Right,
Oh.
right. Yeah,
I mean,
World War One was ugly, kids. Really, really ugly.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how wrapped up you get in this story, because they catch wind of the fact this is happening. And to be honest with you, Cleopatra is not, even when she's being sweet to him, you can still feel this filthy, awful person.
Yeah.
Even when
Yeah.
she's not a good actress at being nice to him. She's
Right.
just
No.
yeah.
Not Olga Beklanova.
Right.
Cleopatra herself.
Cleopatra. I'm talking about
the
the
character herself. Yes.
Yeah. You can still feel the snake underneath.
You know what? I don't really think she was trying to be anything other than I think she was just always kind of honest. She just
getting what she wanted.
Hans was so drunk on the fact that he was getting non-negative attention from somebody that beautiful.
Yeah.
That he actively ignored all of the red flags.
Yeah.
That he is blatantly told, this is happening. Mm-hmm. She is doing this to you. And he goes, I don't care.
Yeah.
I love her. I don't care. Go.
I gotta tell you, some of these folks are just fascinating. The most amazing person in this whole movie for me is Prince Rainier, who is he's an African American man who has no arms and no legs.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently born that way. But bear in mind, also lived to the age of 69 and was cared for in his later years by his son.
Yeah.
Get with that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
And his great scene in this movie.
He wasn't born without all his appendages.
Right. He was only missing 4 of them. Well, his amazing scene in this movie, he rolls a cigarette and lights it.
Yeah, with his mouth.
We don't see him roll it, unfortunately, but we do see him lighting this cigarette just with his mouth.
Yeah, it's rolled really loosely, so you can tell that he did it.
Yeah,
like because you can tell that no hands were used.
How did he sprinkle the tobacco on it?
A lot of times they came in a pouch, so he probably opened the pouch and probably shook it in.
See, I'd love to have seen that.
And somebody there, he did have somebody next to him right there. Maybe he did have some help.
I'd like to think he didn't.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He just does this on his own.
And how he just takes the match out, strikes it, because that was back when you could have strike anywhere matches.
Yeah. Sets the match down.
Sits it in the opposite end of the matchbox, which is how it's actually supposed to be. It's supposed to work like that. But he does this all with a cigarette in his mouth, and he lights it and blows out the match and smokes a cigarette. It's like, he's doing that because he has to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's fascinating that he was allowed to develop that and not just well, thrown out with the bathwater, unfortunately.
Well, you're seeing these people do the things that they do normally, that they
Right.
do every day. And you're seeing them do, they've just turned it into a carnival act. And it's weird because what is normal to them is weird to the outside world,
Right.
and they come into your world and they're watching the things that you do every day
Mm-hmm.
because you do what you got to do.
Like
And it's,
the armless girl.
yeah, yeah, does everything with her feet.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how they live and this is what they do. And you go into their world, you see them, and it's like you're on their turf, you're in their space. It's like they go into your space, they watch you, wash dishes with both hands. You go into theirs, you're going to see somebody wash dishes with their feet. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's just a reversal.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a complete reversal. Um, it's exploitation. It is exploitation, but
Oh
it's
yeah.
how they made a living. Um, but let's face it, all of show business is exploitation.
Yeah.
We go to see things we don't normally see every day. You go to watch a movie about, well, like Marriage Story. You go to watch
Mm-hmm.
a movie, about two people. Their marriage is in crumbs, but they have to figure out what to do with their son. Well, you're looking in the window essentially.
Mm-hmm.
The screen is the window, and you're peeking in the window on their lives, and you're watching how I've never had to be in that situation, fortunately. Um, but you're looking in at somebody that's having to struggle with this.
Right.
And that's all of you go to see a movie about a drug addict.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you're looking in the window at this person, and it's all voyeurism. It's all voyeurism. You're always looking in. And the weird thing is, and I mentioned this to you the other day, is that these people in this carnival sideshow are largely unusual and strange to the outside world. Well, if you think about it, the same goes for, let's say, models.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful people.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Hemsworth, Monica Bellucci, people like that. And you see them on television. Well, they don't look like everybody else.
Right.
They don't look like everybody else. You don't see people that look like that every single day.
No.
Supermodels, you don't see people that look like that every single day. So it's in a strange way the same as you're paying money to see these beautiful people, the same way you would pay to see these carnival attractions. It's really all voyeurism.
Mm-hmm.
It's all to pay to see something you don't normally see, that you don't see every day in your life.
Right.
And
And
that's fascinating.
it
That's why
is.
I always say it's important, when you're looking in that window, that you see the right picture. Which is the whole thing that's going on right now,
Mm-hmm.
with diversity and with making sure that we get things right culturally, um, ethnically. We want to make sure that we get it right, so that when you do look in that window, you're not seeing a pumped up version of something that the person who presented it doesn't know anything about.
Right. Right.
You're looking in on a black family, it's a black family. They're
Mm-hmm.
living their lives, a Hispanic family, Asian family, whatever. And you want to make sure that you're getting the right portrait.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. And this movie really is that way, because by presenting these people as they are, as the people that they are, you're getting them as people
Mm-hmm.
and not just as attractions. So it's all the same. It's really the same way, and it's very fair to them. So I mean, did I make my point? I'm sorry. Sometimes I talk out of my head. But,
Hey, it's better than talking out of somewhere else. Um,
right.
you know, I think I think this movie is remembered for the wrong things.
It is. It
It's
is, because we remember that last scene.
right, right, and you remember the table scene. Gooble Gobble, one of us, Gooble Gobble, Google Gobble.
What's his name? Is it Alejandro? I can't remember his name. The little guy that's running up and down
Yeah.
the guy that's running up with the goblet.
Mm-hmm. Who seems like he would be just like the absolute most fun to hang out with. Like he just
He had a very long career.
he did.
I mean,
I
he had
recognize him.
His last film was Beyond Thunderdome.
Yeah.
And he died, I think, in the 90s.
Wow.
But it was Alejandro, I think is his name. But he seems like just the life of the party because he's running up and down the.
He just seems
goblet.
like he would be like the person that you would want to like spend the time with at the party because he's gonna be the most fun. He just seems like his personality just seems like boisterous and alive and fun and just I don't know.
Now what was it? Because they're singing one of us. What was it that upset her? Because something turns Cleopatra.
Well, what happens is Hercules starts ribbing her. Like, oh, they're gonna make you one of them. They're gonna make you one of them. Oh, hey, look at that. They're you're gonna be one of them. You're gonna be one of the freaks. And it kind of drives her to a breaking point that she just gets very violent. And, I think because they were accepting her and she knew how terrible of a person she was like rejecting them completely and outright, like, you're gonna accept me? No, I'm not gonna let you accept me. Right. I don't want any part of this. I'm just here for the money, and this is more than I bargained for, and I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what it was, but I think Hercules getting at her was a helpful point. But,
well, it all comes down to it all comes crashing down. I mean, she's trying to con him, but let's face it, she's not exactly a con artist.
No, and subtlety is not in her wheelhouse.
No, she's a shitty person.
Yeah,
I mean, my God,
yeah.
She, just top to bottom. What I want to know is a couple of things. One, what did she do to him? Or what did they do to her?
The only thing I can figure is that they something happened that the sheer terror just drove her nuts.
Okay.
Or
she's like deformed and she's got feathers.
I'm thinking that the bottom half of her is under the stage.
Yeah.
And I think that the feathers are just kind of made up, and I think that she is
because she's clucking.
Yes, I think they've driven her nuts, or they have hypnotized her.
Oh,
permanently.
That is true.
They could have harmed her, and then one of the other performers could have hypnotized her and said, "Hey, you're a chicken lady," and never take her out of it.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true. They leave it very vague.
Yeah.
You believe she had some kind of accident and it just led to this, but it looks very strange. It's the last thing you see in the film. It's the very last thing you see in the film because it's the reveal. Mm-hmm. It's the big reveal, and so it's very odd because you're thinking back through it. You're like, wait a minute,
yeah,
she wasn't born this way.
No,
maybe I'm thinking the circus talker just glued some feathers on her and just.
That, you know what, and if you bring in the knowledge that you learned from Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley.
I was just thinking Nightmare Alley.
I could not get that out of my head while I was watching Freaks.
No, especially the ending.
Yeah, because that ends up they say how you make a good geek as they call it, the
guy who bites the heads off chickens.
right, and by the end of it, well, I don't want to give anything away on Nightmare Alley because that's a damn good picture.
It ends pretty much the way this does.
Yeah. He winds up exactly where he was told he could end up, and he knows exactly how it's happening.
It's a hustle that goes wrong because he gets hustled and then ends up back where he was told he would end up.
Right. And so a lot of what happened to her to get into that spot, I remembered the whole thing with the geek in Nightmare Alley.
I don't know if Guillermo del Toro saw Freaks or was so in it, because I know he's
Are you kidding
such
me?
a movie fan. Such a movie fan.
I'm sure he's seen Freaks more than once. I have no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. But it's just a fascinating film. Kind of ruined Tod Browning's career.
Unfortunately, because this is the best thing he ever did.
Yeah.
I love Dracula, but this is his best movie.
But I mean, Dracula is very stagey. This never feels stagey.
No, this Freaks actually shows that Tod Browning might have actually had some talent as a director.
Yeah.
Had he been allowed to kind of flex his muscles a little bit.
The people were horrified because this was at the commissary. The attractions were sitting at the commissary having lunch. People were horrified by being the next table from Pinhead people and the Human Stork and all of this. Like, oh please, God, Prejudice is so. Prejudice is just so random. It's so weird, you know.
Hooray for Hollywood!
So where do you go when you don't look like anybody else? Show business.
Yeah. Cheers? No. That's about all I have.
That's about all I got. This is a terrific film.
It is.
This is the first movie I ever watched on Facebook. I don't know why it was posted on Facebook.
Wow. Okay.
I looked it up on Google. It's like I typed in Freaks 1932, and I typed in videos to see, where it might, because otherwise I had to buy it somewhere.
I actually wound up. I had it taped off of TCM on
burned up. Criterion?
No.
No. Wow.
No.
Wow. This is its 90th anniversary, by the way.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up somehow, but I don't know. I wound up buying it on Prime, even though I had pulled it from TCM. I was like, I'll spend the $10.
Well, I was looking for it, and I know it's 64 minutes long, and I was looking for the video that was 64 minutes long, and I saw that the website was Facebook. I was like, really? Now I clicked on it, and it's like, there it was, and I just watched the whole movie. It was the only movie I ever watched on Facebook.
Fascinating.
Wow.
So what do we have? What do we have coming up?
Oh, mother of God! Next week we've got a real freak show.
Oh boy!
This is your first pick for Shocktober month.
Yeah.
This is.
It's my annual Japanese ghost story.
Well, you like to pick the foreign films. I like to pick the weirdos. I like to pick the. I like to find the weirdest films I can. You're choosing House.
Yes.
Not the William Catt movie with George Wendt. 1977.
1977. And let me see.
Imagine if Hanna-Barbera were Japanese and made a haunted house movie. That's basically what this is.
Yeah, I mean it's Japanese. It's
great to have the old team back together again.
It is absolutely insane. It's
and that's putting it mildly.
Yeah.
It's just a weirdo movie.
It is, and it's also not particularly long.
No.
It was directed by Nobuhiko Obayashi from an original screenplay from Chiho Katsura and an original story from Shigumi Obayashi.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
Batshit.
yes, a schoolgirl and six of her friends go to this girl's aunt's house that winds up being haunted, and it
Keywords: Japanese schoolgirls.
yeah
That's
well
it's always a flag.
yeah, but it's not really about that. It's it defies description, but we are going to try. After that, your second pick, which, because of your second pick, is actually what made me finally pull the trigger on Haosu.
Well, the weird thing is, my pick is actually not as strange as Haozu.
It is not.
It's actually more sane
Yeah.
than Haozu.
Yeah.
I've chosen a film that I've had a little trouble getting onto this show. We're talking about Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which I have had a hard time getting on this show because we do
I had a hard time
Shocktober
getting
month.
through it.
We do horror movies, good horror movies in October, and we do bad movies in November, which is Turkey Month.
And a lot of times they end
Well,
up being
it's a
bad horror
Halloween movie.
Right.
It's a bad Halloween movie. So what do? If I stick it in November, then it's kind of dated, and Halloween's over. So I thought, okay, well, just stick it in Shocktober. So we are talking about it's Halloween 3, A Season of the Witch, the outlier to the series.
Oh, yes.
After having my brains bashed in by doing a series rewatch on this damn thing.
And then to close out Shocktober, I've chosen the trio this year as one of my thematic trios. I've previously done the Devil Trio, and
Yes.
I think one other one. This one is
Cornetto.
yes,
Cornetto.
yes, the Cornetto trilogy, and now this is Faces. The first of the films being 1960s French film Eyes Without a Face, directed by Georges Franju.
Brilliant.
The second film is Hiroshi Teshigahara's Eyes Without a Face,
I have not seen.
which was released in the same year and actually just a couple of months before the third film that we're doing, which is John Frankenheimer's Seconds, which I always kind of viewed as a companion piece to The Face of Another.
I saw Seconds on TCM back in the day.
Yeah.
Way back.
I think it was a blind buy on Criterion for me when it was on like super sale and I had a gift card or something. I was like, oh, hey, let's try this one. I like John Frankenheimer.
That's how I got Halloween 3. It was like $1.75 and I got the Blu-ray.
Yeah. So so it's kind of three movies that kind of study the importance of a face and how a different face can change how you just behave and how you are. It's really fascinating behavioral studies, and which is hilarious that we're following Halloween 3 and rolling into Turkey Month with an actually pretty sober dissection of horror movies.
Yeah.
But so be it. We're the same people that went from Superman 3 into Fanny and Alexander. So
Yeah, we went from Superman 3 and Ingmar Bergman.
yeah. So we're used to jarring tonal shifts here on the Pod Bay Doors. I think that about wraps it up here for me. You can find all of our back episodes at the Pod Bay Doors podcast.wordpress.com. You can listen to us on iTunes and on YouTube. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification so you always know when we got something new. And given that we have been on a rather long hiatus, that might be helpful for our listeners. And you can also find us on Twitter at pod_bay. We tweet when we have a new episode. And Patreon with the same handle. Actually, copy and paste that and head over to Patreon. We have a couple of listener exclusives there. Hoping to add to that in the coming months at some point. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. We thank you very much for joining us, and the Pod Bay Doors are now closed.
The mission has been completed.
Walk into the room with your pencil in your hand. You see somebody naked and you say, who is that man? You try so hard but you don't understand just what you will say when you get home. Because something is happening here, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? You raise up your head and you ask, is this where it is? Then somebody points to you and says, it's his. And you say, what's mine? And somebody else says, well, what is? And you say, oh my God, am I here all alone? But something is happening and you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? You hand in your ticket and you go watch the geek, who immediately walks up to you when he hears you speak and says, how does it feel to be such a freak? And you say, impossible, as he hands you a bone. And something is happening here, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? You have many contacts among the lumberjacks to get you facts when someone attacks your imagination. But nobody has any respect. Anyway, they already expect you to all give a check to tax-deductible charity organizations. You've been with the professors and they've all liked your looks. With great lawyers you have discussed lepers and crooks. You've been through all of F. Scott Fitzgerald's books. You're very well read, it's well known. But something is happening here and you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Well, the sword swallower, he comes up to you and then he kneels. He crosses himself and then he clicks his high heels. And And without further notice, he asks you how it feels. And he says, here is your throat back, thanks for the loan. And you know something is happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Now you see this one-eyed midget shouting the word now, and you say, for what reason? And he says, how? And you say, what does this mean? And he screams back, you're a cow. Give me some milk or else go home. And you know something's happening, but you don't know what it is. Do you, Mr. Jones? Well, you walk into the room like a camel, and then you frown. You put your eyes in your pocket and your nose on the ground. There ought to be a law against you coming around. You should be made to wear earphones, 'cause something is happening and you don't know what it is. Do you?